Hello and welcome to the Audacity Factor. This is day 20 of my 90 for 90. My name is Kathryn. I'm your host and the creator here at the Audacity Factor, also found on Patreon, where I have a community. I would love for you to join. There's a QR code right above my head. You can scan that and check it out. You can join for free. I also do have a couple paid membership levels as well. I want to say yesterday, and maybe it's not just yesterday, I got a little pissed off. And it was more in regard to, I think, watching, listening to people that are not willing to actually find out the truth, and but they're willing to spread opinions or things that they've heard that don't have any basis in any kind of truth or fact. And I find it really frustrating to watch them kind of scamper to make up something to prove that what they're saying is actually truth, but yet it's only based on other pieces of non-truths and hearsay and propaganda. And I just, you know what? I just find it really frustrating that if we don't want to know the truth, well, then keep your stuff to yourself. It's, we can claim to be optimistic. And for me, optimism kind of creates that scenario of curiosity and wanting to know and being generous with whatever your thoughts and beliefs are. However, if on the other hand, you're willing to then delve into fear-based non-truths, things that aren't based in fact, how can you kind of keep that together within the same person or community or whatever it is? How can we want the truth and not want the truth at the same time? So we don't want the truth, but we're willing to spread fear-based rhetoric, to believe in the worst as opposed to stating optimistically or generously, I'm going to believe this is true until somebody actually proves to me and shows me that it's not true. But I don't want to go find it. I'm just going to believe the untruth as opposed to wanting to find out what's actually real and true. I find it frustrating. I used to tell my ex, I'm like, he wouldn't give any information about anything. I think because he was so afraid to be wrong that he wouldn't commit to anything. He always had a caveat at the end of anything that he said, and it was, I guess. So right there, it really negated pretty much anything that he said before that. Just in case. I think just in case he ended up being wrong. But heaven forbid, truly. But I used to tell him, I said, if you can't say anything real or true, you're going to deny you're feeling a certain way, or you're upset or whatever it is, and pretend otherwise. Well, how can you make any kind of choices or decisions or even create a opinion or belief around something that is filled with, well, it's filled with emptiness? There's no information there to support anything at all. So how do you make a choice based on nothing? Or how do you, because that's what lies are. That's what factless opinions are. They're just illusions and lies. So how do you actually make any kind of choice or decision based on that? And if you don't want to know, then why are you going to go ahead then and feed what is the most fearful? Why wouldn't you just go ahead and feed and talk about what's the most generous. So how do you choose one over the other? If you don't want any information, if you don't want any facts or any truth, okay. But how do you then choose to the fear and the anger and the aggression and the divisiveness? How do you choose that to support as opposed to choosing generosity, hope, possibilities, moving forward, growth? How do you choose one over the other? I don't understand making that distinction or that decision based on nothing. So why wouldn't, and if you're claiming to be an optimistic person, why wouldn't you choose what's most generous then? Because isn't that how you feel normally, optimistic? So why wouldn't you think best case scenario? And then talk about best case scenario instead of talking about worst case scenario. Why is it we have a tendency to want to believe and to propagate the worst case scenario instead of the best case scenario? And that's, I think, become a habit, focusing on everything that we think is wrong, anything that we hear, because people are clamoring at us everywhere. So it is important to recognize and be discerning about where you get your information from. And is it information that you want? Or is it just the drama of the rhetoric that you're looking for? And yes, I'm sure you all know this is based in the political climate right now. And I do not claim to be a political activist in any way. For the majority of my life, I've stayed out of our political system because I was very disillusioned by it. In the past few years, though, I recognize the importance of getting to the information so that I can actually make a choice. And something I've said in the past, to justify my own lack of engagement, is that I don't know anything. I don't know anything about anyone, so I can't make a choice to vote for someone. I'm not going to just vote just to vote. I won't do that. I wouldn't do that. So it's taken me this past decade, and even more focusedly on the past, probably maybe half a dozen years, to get more involved. But this year in particular, I've decided to seek out the information because I want to know. I live here in South Carolina. I'm a member of the South Carolina Women in Leadership community. And, they really opened my eyes about what is going on in our state, number one, which then further led me to, kind of the bigger scope. And I'm seeking out now my own information and my own avenues for that information, because it's really about, we recognize integrity. You can't tell me that we don't. We know what's right and wrong, but that can look very different when we think of it in terms of what's going to help me, and I'm not going to worry about anybody else. So, it's, I think part of it is we've had a tendency to become very singular and making ourselves believe that what we do doesn't affect anyone else. Well, it does, absolutely. And it has a ripple effect completely, whether we want to believe it or not. It's like the sun is always there. We can't see it when the clouds are in the way, but it's still there. The truth is the same. The truth is still always there. There can be a lot of shit in the way, and we can put stuff in the way of it because we feel like the truth is threatening. It's not. The truth is what real things are made of. If it's not based in truth, it's not real. but you're trying to make it real. That's where all the drama, the propaganda, the fear mongering, that's where all of that come from. There's nothing real. Truth is willing to be challenged. Lies are never willing to be challenged, ever. So just think about that. All right. Yeah, I didn't quite get into the pissed off part, but this is what was wrapped around the pissed off part. I believe in the goodness of humanity. And I have to continue to believe that that part will prevail. No matter how long it takes. I believe that. Okay. Here ends episode 20 of my 90 for 90. Please check out my Patreon. QR code is right here above my head, and I will see you in the next video.